Hey, Johnny.
What's that?
It's time to pay some bills.
Let's do it.
All right. So we are lucky enough, and I really mean this, we're lucky enough to have Edmunds Realty sponsor this episode. They're a local family-owned business serving the entire Puget Sound for over 30 years, and that's a really long time.
I was 5 when they started. I mean, I was a little baby.
Yeah, I was a little older than that. So they're honest people offering full real estate services, whether, you're buying or selling or, looking for that dream home or maybe even looking to rent a place or need somebody to manage your rentals. These guys are a one-stop shop. They're awesome. And they give you service like you expect when you're when you're spending that kind of money and using that kind of money. Give them a call at 425-921-2200. Or if you prefer email, you can email them at office@edmundsrealty.net. Check out their website, edmundsrealty.net, where you can do searches for homes for sale or rentals in your area or all that fun stuff. Oh, yeah, and don't forget, you need some notary services. These guys do it for free. So that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's hard to beat. So Edmunds Realty, where serving you comes first. Now, hit that music.
This is Spoiler Country, a podcast about comics, movies, whatever. But mostly comics. Enjoy.
Previously on Spoiler Country, the code word is Copperhead.
Next, when someone says Copperhead around, you scream. Oh, that's terrible. Hey, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric Regan. That is Johnny Horsley. And the reason that I'm a little giddy today is because we get to talk with Richard Kadrey, the author of Sandman Slim and all of the series. I am super excited.
This is we've both been anticipating this episode for quite a while now, and
I reached out to him in July. He said,
"Yep,
can't do it until at least the beginning of October." And so I said, "Okay, I will put a reminder and I will ask you again in late September." He said, "Perfect." Late September came around. I was like, hey.
Remember me? I'm that guy.
Yeah. I'm that little fly buzzing around. And he was like, no, very cool. I'll come on. And I got really excited because this literally, the Sandman Slim series is literally my favorite book in the last 15 years.
Yeah, and it's a good. I mean, if you listen to our Sandman Slim book review we did, it's a good book. We both enjoyed it. I really much enjoyed that book. As reading it down in San Francisco, it was great.
Yeah, and then it just keeps getting better because now he did an arc on Lucifer. He did the last arc of Lucifer that ended the series, which was really good. And now he's doing Constantine Hellblazer, and it's like I didn't even know he was going to get into comic books. I didn't even know he has written comic books before, and he has. And so that just makes me even more excited because this guy does comic books, and he's written one of my favorite series of books ever. It's a win-win.
And he's going to be on our show.
Yeah, and he's going to be on our show. What the hell? What do we do right?
Yeah. It's a little fun little story for you. So yesterday, Kayla and I went out to lunch, and there was this couple that was sitting at the table next to us, and they were celebrating this girl's birthday or whatever. So we decided to buy them lunch for her birthday, and we ended up talking with them, and they're big comic book fans. And I was like, oh, hey, I got a podcast, and I gave him a card and talked to him. And I was like, oh, and also, do you know who Richard Kadrey is? He wrote Sandman Slim. He was like, oh, dude, I love Sandman Slim. So it's great to be talking to someone like, oh, yeah, we're talking to this guy, and they knew who it was. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because you always find that when other people know the people that you respect in the industry or people that you like that aren't like, big name actors and shit like that, it gives you this warm feeling inside, like, oh, we share a bond.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. He has a book that I haven't read yet, and I really kind of want to read it, and it's called Metrophage.
Metrophage?
It's Metropphage. I hope I said that right. I'm pretty sure I did. But it was published in 1988, and it's it's a dystopic future where technology replaces morality, right? And so it's supposed to be a very forward-thinking cyberpunk novel from when all those novels were really hitting it, And it's supposed to be like one of the ones that you should read if you're into those. So if you like Johnny Mnemonic or the Shadowrun series, it's probably be a really good one to read. So I
check that one out.
Yeah, I want to check it out. I'm actually going to ask him about it because I have honestly I've never read it. So I want to read it.
I feel a little bad coming in this interview today. I gotta confess something to you, Kenric. The plan was that we were gonna read the Lucifer run prior to him coming on.
I did.
So we could talk about. Yeah, I didn't yet.
It's because you don't do anything. You never do anything.
I know. I do nothing on the show.
I edit everything. I do all the hosting duties. I'm just. Why do you even
run
come
the
on?
Website?
Just go ahead and
you
click.
Run the website. You make the graphics. You do the Twitter. You take care of Instagram. You do everything. You do all the Signal Boost interviews. Yeah, no, I don't do anything.
Oh my God! Could you imagine? Can you imagine in doing this show alone? That'd just be terrible.
No.
It's too much work.
What I'm going with this little confession is we have about an hour and a half until he comes on.
Yeah.
Till like physical time when we meet with him. And obviously podcast time will be like cut, boop, there we are.
Right.
I'm going to try and go power read as many of those as I can between now and then. Which oddly enough is the same thing I did before our Sandman Slim interview or review was power finish the last 2 chapters before we started recording.
Such a good book. That whole series is so good. And he references so many movies that have devil in the title or it has to do with the devil. So I really want to know if a lot of those movies are real or if he comes up with them, because the titles are very a lot of them, they got some great titles, Yeah. And it just makes them great. And I just love his sense of humor through the whole thing. I've read that first novel, dude, at least 6 or 7 times, maybe more.
Yeah, I picked up the second one to read. I haven't started yet, but I picked up the second one to read through.
Oh yeah, Kill the Dead. That's a good one.
Yeah, I want to read through. I kind of want to get through all. Not kind of. I want to get through all of them because I was captivated by that first one. So I'm excited to get to the next one.
Oh man, and I kind of want to touch on asking him about them being picked up for a movie franchise, or if that's just not true, or if it is true. You know what I mean? And if he's excited by it, or what?
Well, ask him. The worst thing he's going to say is, "I can't talk about that."
Right, right. So I'm really excited. So let's just get to it. Okay, well, we're here today with Mr. Richard Kadrey, the author of literally, Richard, my favorite series right now of the Sandman Slim novel, and the whole series, actually.
Thank you.
My co-host, Johnny, I bugged him for a year to read that first one, and we did a review of it earlier, and I'm just going to get it out of the way because I completely gushed about it. And it was all
he did.
honest review because first of all, I love like supernatural detective novels. As soon as it's something to that effect, I'm already in love with it. Right. And then you just took it to a different level than I was used to reading. And it was just, cause it was full of action and it was funny. And I love the gumshoe kind of style of James Stark in my head as he's going through the story. And it's a lot of fun. And so, as we go through, how did you even come up with this idea?
It's a really boring writer's story, actually. I had finished a project and I was looking around for my next project. And I was just going through my notebooks like every idiot writer does. And I found a few lines in one notebook. I found the phrase "Hitman from Hell." And in a second notebook, I found character name Sandman Slim. And for some reason, those notes must have been in the books for perhaps years because I didn't remember them. For some reason, that day, those two things stuck together for me, and they seemed like a logical connection. So I just started extrapolating from there, and it's almost like anthropology, or you start trying to piece together what this thing means. What is Hitman from Hell? Who is a hitman from hell? Is it a dead mobster who's really a hitman? Well, that's kind of boring to me. So what if it's someone who didn't want to be a hitman? What if it's someone who fell into it? What if it's someone who was forced into it? That kind of thing. So it all kind of grew out of that kind of examination of the ideas, but literally it was just like 2 or 3 sentences in a couple of notebooks.
That's actually kind of awesome, though.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's cool. How things just come together like that sometimes when you don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's funny. Some of the best work for me, at least, just sort of seems to fall out of the sky. Like I said, those notes had been in my books for probably years, and for some reason, that particular day, everything made sense.
I did a little bit of research on you. I don't usually do a lot of research on people just because I'm more like just to talk and kind of find our way through there. But I did check out your Wikipedia page, which is very limited. I think it might be like that on purpose. But I noticed that you did a lot of stuff in technology magazines like Hot Wired and even Future Sex and Wired and Omni, and that's really cool. And I'm just curious because to me, you've stripped out a lot of the technology aspects of today within this series, within the Sandman series anyways. And was that on purpose to make it more of he's kind of like cause he's how long was he in hell for?
11 years.
11 years, yeah.
But in the timeline of where it seems to be, he didn't even know like what a BlackBerry was in the first novel, right? And so to me, that's like, okay, that must have been he went in the 90s, came out in the early 2000s, and a lot changed in the world at that time. And so for him to have no knowledge of what technology, the advances of technology is what I'm trying to say, and being able to use the black knife to break into anything and running through the shadows and all that. Was that on purpose to strip him of those ability?
Yeah.
To understand?
That was, I started out writing science fiction, and I figured if I was going to write fantasy, I should just go all the way and strip out as much of the technological aspects of the 21st century as I could. I mean, in later books, Stark learns to use cell phones and uses them, can use them quite a bit. In fact, I just finished book 10, and he doesn't call on them very much, but he loves texting because you can just, the whole wonder of texting is just 4 words. There's no conversation. It's just 4 words. Here's the thing. Shut up. I'm done.
Right.
So that's about as technological as Stark ever gets.
Sounds like me on phones. I don't like to call. I just text people. I don't like to be on the phone.
Texting is wonderful.
Yeah.
99% of our conversations is through instant messaging.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we're the same way. My mom is 80 years old. Well, she'll be 80 in June, so she's 79, and she's 77. I can't even remember my own fucking mom's
I was going to say,
age.
she's
what
not
the hell's wrong with that? Anyways, when texting really took off, she was the very much prototypical old lady that was, I hate texting. Why does everybody have to text? I want to talk to you. And then the iPhone came out, and within like 6 months, she never called. She only texted. And she'd be in her little sewing circle, and they'd be all bitching, and she'd have her back turned, and she'd be texting her grandkids.
That's great.
It's good stuff. So I know you've done a comic book a couple years ago, and I'd be remiss to remember the name.
I just finished one, in fact.
Yeah, you're working on Constantine Hellblazer, right?
Yeah, I just sent in the last Constantine script, so Hellblazer is done for now. In fact, I just was proofing my first issue, so that's number 16. And it's a short arc. It's just 3 issues. So I've written 16, 17, and 18, and 16 it will be out, I believe, in November.
Well, your run on Lucifer was great. You finished up that series.
Thank you.
And I got that. I collect. I mean, I'm an avid comic book collector. You're on a comic book podcast, so take that with a grain of salt. But I collected Lucifer, and I didn't realize they were actually ending the series. Right? I don't read a lot of the trades of what's coming or what we're doing and all that. I just read the stories until they're done, and then And I mean this. I honestly mean this, Richard. And I'll stop. You're like right now. Your work on Sandman, and then your work on Lucifer, and I'm getting ready to read the Coop Files, which I'm really excited about. Is it co-op or Coop?
Coop.
Okay. So I'm getting really excited to read that because I read your description of the first novel of the Angel, 25,000 BC. Can't find his artifact. Oh crap! I was like, oh my god, I'm going to read this. So, but I didn't even notice that you were writing Lucifer until I was like reading through, and I'm like, wow, I know Kadrey. I know that name. He writes Sandman Slim, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh my god, you're writing the comic books that I'm reading now as well. And it was like, this makes total sense considering how you write Lucifer in Sandman Slim, and they're similar. I mean, they're drastically different in drastically different characters, but they are similar in the sense of how they're portrayed. And I thought it was great. You did a really good job on it. And so I'm really excited to see how you do what you did with Constantine.
Yeah, well, Lucifer was a lot of fun. It was a little frustrating at the end because we had to end the series early. We actually had several more issues planned out, but then DC wanted to reboot Vertigo. And so everything had to shut down. So I had to basically compress 6 issues into about 3. So
is that what happened? So you felt a little rushed?
It was a little rushed at the end. I think everybody kind of pulled together and did a pretty good job, but there was a lot more stuff we wanted to get into, and I'm grateful to Vertigo for letting me do it at all, but I wish we'd had a little more time with it. There were characters we wanted to get into, never quite got to, but that was part of the learning experience. I was playing in someone else's, playground,
right.
To overuse the word play. And right. I hadn't really done much of that. And when the company said, shut it down, you shut everything down.
You're like, fuck, really?
Yeah.
I got like 3 more issues in me. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit like that for everybody. But, like I said, I think everybody pulled together. I think the, Lee's art is amazing.
I wonder if they're going to relaunch it.
And yeah, they are. There's going to be well, I don't know if I'm giving something away, but
well, we don't want you to do that. We don't want you to get you in trouble.
Yeah, I do. I want to
forget I just said that.
I don't want you to get in trouble, but I want you to give it away. I mean, if we're being honest here.
Well, Lucifer is a great character. They did a good job. I mean, Neil Gaiman's take on that whole thing was really neat.
Well, it's my Lucifer in Samael in the Sandman Slim books and the Lucifer in the comics and Gaiman's original portrayal of Lucifer. I mean, we're all ripping off Milton. Almost everybody who's going to write Lucifer at this point, you have to go back to Milton and use it however you want to. But there is that similarity and that basis for these things. And so I think that's sort of your key. If anybody out there wants to write a good Lucifer character, I think the first thing you need to do is go back and look at Paradise Lost, which some people that's one of those chores for a lot of people, but I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, they did a whole video game series on that, which is kind of funny because it actually brings that type of literature to a different audience that normally wouldn't go back and look it up unless they took literature in college or in extended literature in high school.
I'd be curious to see how closely they stuck to the actual story, because
probably not very much.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I mean, even at this time and place, you couldn't. I don't think you would. I don't think you couldn't or you wouldn't do certain things. I mean, Milton was a jerk to women in his life and his work, and Eve comes off very badly in Paradise Lost. She is not portrayed as being very smart. And so I don't know if they would have done that in the game, because it's, you're really frustrated and you feel sorry for her because it's just this author just messing with her the whole time. Milton needed a fall guy and he just chose Eve. And, I don't think a lot of guys do that.
Well, especially in that time period, right? I mean, they were pretty much subservient at that time.
Yeah. But, Milton, just for the record, if anybody wants to look at Milton, he's a jerk.
Let's put that one out there. Just set it in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Milton, man. How old is that book? That's got to be like the 1700s.
1740s, I believe.
There you go.
Is it that long ago?
I only know that because I think it's the 1600s somewhere.
1667 was when it was
1600s
published.
Jesus.
God, yeah, man, that's getting back there.
I have on my bookshelf over here, I have a copy of Paradise Lost, but it's not really a copy of the book. It's one of those like fake books that open up, you can hide stuff in.
Oh, that's great.
And what's in it is like, I have some old Matchbox cards of my dad's from the 60s. That's all that's in it. But I mean, I have it on my bookshelf, and every time I hear that John Milton or Paradise Lost, I think, I have a fake book of that.
Well, wasn't Paradise Lost, wasn't he very much influenced by Dante's Inferno?
Well, that's the other one. I mean, everybody goes back to Dante too. And I ripped off Dante and
that's what I was thinking of on the video game. It's Dante's Inferno, and it wasn't Paradise Lost that I was thinking of.
Ah, okay.
I get those two mixed up all the time.
Yeah. No, if you're going to write about hell, Milton and Dante are your sort of two go-to guys.
Your go-to
for the basics. And,
yeah,
you know, it's easy.
Well, for me,
you need to find the people you need to know the people to rip off. That's the beginning of your writing career. Rip off the right people.
I got interested in that stuff in like reading about hell and reading about, and when I say that sounds kind of weird, but reading Dante's Inferno and then going through and learning about the rules and regulations of Satan, so to speak, because I was raised very stout Catholic, right?
Ah, right.
And so you couldn't fucking do anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Anything that was going on. My mom made us turn off the Goonies, you know, because the Statue of David and they showed the penis and then, you know, Chunk breaks it and puts the penis on upside down. And she was like, oh, that's it. We're done. Turn it off. And it was just like, oh my God, are you kidding? And it was over everything. And so now everything was so repressed that in my adult life, you know, and the same with my sister and my brother, we've all completely abandoned the religion and then taken it the complete opposite of it. You know what I mean? Where we love watching horror films and seeing scary stuff. And if it's dealing with the supernatural, we tend to we like it even more. And I think it's because of the overbearingness of what the Catholic religion was for us. And so it's your books are always, you know, especially Sandman Slim, he's always dealing in that realm. It's just more fun, you know? You know what? I had a question for you. Throughout all your books, you're always bringing up movies in your books. Mm-hmm. And they're always dealing with, like, they're watching some kind of movie that's dealt with the devil, right? Or dealing with the devil, especially in the first few.
I mean, there's a lot of Westerns in there. There are, you know, Italian horror in there. So, I mean, there's a certain amount of stuff. I mean, certainly in the first book, they're all devil movies, but that's because Lucifer's going through Stark's video collection. So all of those, as that was a joke, just to have Lucifer would want to see how he was portrayed in movies. And so Stark is basically reviewing devil movies for the devil in Sandman Slim, the first book.
Well, were those all real titles?
Absolutely. Everything in the Sandman Slim series is real. All the movies.
That's awesome. There is
that
makes me want to go through and
actually there's one fake one. And that's all I'll say. There's one fake one. So, you know, if you're really obsessive.
The obsessiveness of myself will go through and write them all out. And then I'll be like Googling everything one night and be like, okay, I got to find this one. And then I have to try to find it so I can actually watch it. Because I ran a video store for years in the 90s. And so I've seen a billion movies. Okay. And so when you're naming off these movies, I was like, some of them I recognized. 99% of them I didn't. And I was like, wow, what is this movie? But then, you know, you start reading it and then you forget to go back and look it up. But then I go back then and I'm like, God, I just remember the first novel. There were so many of them that dealt with the devil. That's why I just, you know, I'm halfway through the second to the last. So I'm on the road to the perdition.
Oh, okay. The perdition score.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm halfway through it. So it's good. Great. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. And
Thank you.
I can't wait. Yeah.
That was another fun movie thing I got to do was in some of the later books, you know, there were these magical movies that Stark is able to get hold of, which are, movies that were never made through this. All of those are real too. All the movies I mentioned in that, Cronenberg's Frankenstein, I think I mentioned James Cameron's Spider-Man. All of these movies are real. They almost happened. Orson Welles doing Heart of Darkness. I did a lot of research into movies that never happened, and those are the ones I used.
Could you imagine Orson Welles doing Heart of Darkness? That would have been crazy.
That was supposed to be his first movie. That's what he was supposed to do, and they canceled it because it was too expensive, and then he made Citizen Kane. So, you know, it's a trade-off.
I wonder how much it was supposed to be if they thought Citizen Kane would be okay to do.
I think it was just a budget thing, you know, that from what I've read, it was just too.
But Citizen Kane could not have been cheap at that time, though, right?
No, but it was. I think, you know, it was certainly cheaper than building a jungle or sending, or maybe sending them to a jungle somewhere. I don't know what they would have done, but if you're interested in Welles and Heart of Darkness, he did do a radio play of Heart of Darkness.
Oh, I would love to listen to that.
So
those old radio plays are so fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on YouTube. There's a lot of old audio files. So yeah, go look for Orson Welles' Heart of Darkness. I'm sure you can hear it there.
Oh, that would be, yep, there it is. I already found it. That's hilarious. Yep. And Life with Father.
There you go.
Yeah, it's only an
power
hour.
of YouTube. The power of YouTube right there for you.
That is awesome. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. Thanks for the tip.
Sure.
I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but is it true that the Sandman Slim series has been optioned?
Oh, yeah. That's very funny.
With Studio 8?
Studio 8, yes. And in fact, I'm going down. There is a really terrific script for it, and I'm going down this week to meet the director.
Oh, so it's moving along.
It's really moving along.
That's exciting.
After spending years in limbo, it's the way Hollywood works. I mean, everybody I know who's dealt with Hollywood, it always works this way. There's a big rush at the beginning, and then nothing happens. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's a big rush again. Like, all the stuff happens in these big explosions. Very little happens in, these just in a normal way, like the way you would write a book, where you sit down and you progress normally. Everything in movies is just takes forever, unless it doesn't. Jeff Vandermeer's book, Annihilation, was bought by a writer, director, producer. And so that happened very quickly. And I think Andy Weir's The Martian happened very quickly too. But those are rare exceptions. Most movies just take fucking years. And this did, but I'm really happy where it's ended up.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you came up to Seattle for The Getaway God. You did a book signing.
Yeah.
At I think it was the Elliott Bay Books downtown Seattle. And I was working in Bellevue, which is the east side, which is across the bridge. And anyways, on my lunch break, I'm like, I'm going to go get, I bought The Getaway God, the hardcover edition. I'm going to get this signed because I didn't know if you're coming back or how often you did this, And I don't usually go and get things signed. I mean, I get some comic books signed here and there, but I don't usually go get anything signed. And, I was like maybe the second or third person in the door. And you signed the book and we talked, and I remember I asked you about it then, and you were like, oh, we have some things in the works, but I can't talk about it right now. That must have been right when you were about ready to ink a deal with Studio 8.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was at a couple of different production houses, but the last it ended up at Studio 8, and I couldn't be happier. They're really great people. They're really smart people. Everybody involved they were asking really interesting questions of me. We had a lot of phone consulting, and they started asking questions, a lot of motivation questions, even of secondary characters. And that made me very happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you have is it Bridget Bardot?
Brigitte Bardot.
Is it Bardot? Yeah, Brigitte Bardot. She's a really fun character.
Yeah, I like Brigitte.
And Candy, she's a really fun character. I mean, you have some really interesting characters.
Thank you.
So it's going to be interesting how they put this. I don't know. To me, it seems like your books are ready for film, so it should be a really fun ride.
And like I said, I think the script is really good, and the director is extremely cool. And I think there's a really good chance people are going to like it a lot.
I hope so. I want you to have a lot of success with it, because I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it explode all over the place. It'd be a lot of fun to see it all. Because to me. Because Richard, I read the first one in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
Right. And so I kind of, as dorky and as fucking idiotic as it sounds, I kind of feel like an insider, because I was reading it and telling people, read this book. This is so good. You got to check this out. And then all of a sudden.
Such a hipster.
Yeah, right. Totally a fucking stupid hipster. So I started reading, and as soon as you started pumping them out, I'm like, I'm reading. And I kind of thought it was going to be like a one and done. And then all of a sudden you had, a million frickin' in the series, and I was reading every single one of them. And so when I read that you got optioned and for the movie in a possible franchise, I got really excited because it feels like I've been watching it from the beginning. And so to see it come to a fruition like this is a lot. And I'm not the kind of person that goes, oh, the book was better when I watch a movie. I just want to see it do really well and have a lot of fun with it, right? Because it's two different mediums. You can't compare the two.
Exactly. They had to compress a lot of stuff in the script, but the way they did it, I think, was really good. I'm like I said, I'm very happy with the script. I'm always very critical of book to movie adaptations, and this one is I'm very happy with.
That's cool. Did you have a lot of insight on the script? Like, hey, what do you think if we do this? Or what do you think if we change this?
No, I didn't want to get that involved. I I wanted them to take it and make it their own. Like I said, I did some consulting on background stuff. Again, sort of like, what was this character thinking? What was this character doing right here? What does this mean on a deeper level?
Yeah.
So I did that kind of consulting, but I did no writing, and I, had nothing to do with the actual creation of the script other than, like I said, some background information.
Well, I'm excited, man. I hope it does really well.
Thank you.
I'm weirdly proud of you for getting to this point.
Weirdly proud of you.
Well, because
Nice.
I don't know Richard, and I so it's just funny because I do feel like I've been there since the beginning because I've been reading it for so long, and I've just been trying to get people to read it because I just think that type of character is such a fun character to read and to get behind. And then I found all these people doing fan arts for it, which kind of blew my mind. Is it weird when you go on? Do you ever go online and look at some of the fan art people do for Sandman Slim?
People have sent me some. I don't go hunting for it, but it's really gratifying to find out that people like Stark enough and Candy. I have seen a lot of Candy art. It's very gratifying to see it. I mean, there are people getting Sandman Slim tattoos, and that really, the first time that happened, that freaked me out.
That's nuts. That's
I mean, and it's really
like you put that on your body.
It's you have to take that seriously. That's a real honor if someone's going to put your thoughts, your characters, your words on their body. As a writer, it makes me want to work harder because people
that's cool.
care about it that much.
Yeah, it's the people that we've talked about, we've had, like Johnny talked to a couple just the other day that was really excited that you were coming on our show to talk because they learned, Sandman Slim. Oh my God, we love that whole series. And that's your reaction that you usually get. If they know if they know the series and they know who you are, then I've never met anybody go, yeah, it's okay. It's always like, it's either they're just not into that type of genre or they're really, really in love with it. And I think that's a testament to your writing.
Or they say I'm ripping off Jim Butcher. That's the other response. I still get that sometimes. Which,
really?
I still get a lot of, it's just Harry Dresden with guns. It was worse at the beginning when the first book or two came out, but it's dropped off some, but I still run across that. Yeah,
Dresden's a lot different though. He's a different, you might be in the same genre, but you're totally two different characters. I mean,
that's what I think. Yeah. That they're,
to me, if you're going to make him close to any character to me, it's Constantine. Mm-hmm. That's the closest person I can think of that would be in the same type of vein. But even that, to me, I mean, I know you're writing Constantine right now. You just finished up the arc, but to me, Stark would kick the shit out of that guy. So it's not really a competition.
I don't know. I think if they ever met, they'd probably just end up going and getting drunk together. I don't think there'd be any real competition.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, exactly. They'd probably just have some drinks and
the competition would be who could drink more.
Probably.
So what do you got else going in the works? You got the Coop files that you've been working on that seems like you got the first two out really quick. And then there's more in that series?
I honestly don't know. We did the first two and we'll have to see about more of them. I have some ideas, but we'll just see how it goes. Right now I am working on a screenplay with a friend, and that's
cool.
That's pretty exciting. That's a
is it? Can you talk about what it's about, or is it you want to keep it down on the low? Or
all I can say is it's a rock and roll goth serial killer romance.
Rock and roll goth serial killer romance. That's quite a mouthful. That's going to be interesting.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
So you got tagline.
Do you have it? So when you write a screenplay, what is your process? I mean, where do you start with that?
Well, we had you just haven't. I haven't collaborated a lot on writing, so I don't have a lot of experience with this. So, but the fun part was that we had this very basic idea. It actually came out of a joke. My friend Mallory was moving to Los Angeles, and I was telling her places to go and things to see, and I made a couple of jokes about kind of morbid places to go check out. And out of me joking around with her at her responses, we realized, there's a kind of a story in this. And we just started developing it, emails back and forth, a few phone calls, stuff like that. And all of a sudden we realized we have an entire story here, that could be a script. And then we just developed it from there. It's called story breaking. And, you sit down there, you sit together and you figure out what are the beats in this story? Scripts, comics, and film, they're a lot about structure and how long, what's the important thing here? How long does this go on? Things like that. So we worked that out.
You kind of outline it.
Yeah, we outline it and figure out our beats, the different scenes and the beats within the scenes. And then we just start writing, and each of us is writing a bit, and we'll send it to the other, and then they'll edit what the other person wrote, and then add some more, and then we're just sending it back and forth like that. And so far, it's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because Johnny, our co-host here, won't shut up, has actually...
I'm sorry, I talk too much. I apologize, all right?
Well, he's been actually writing comic books and webcomics since like 2003, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. 2003, yeah.
And he's actually in the middle of writing a graphic anthology novel called the Eins Anthology. Mm-hmm. And it follows a family for 600 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And basically, the supernatural follows this family. No matter what happens, somehow the supernatural is always involved in this family. Be it by either they're evil and they manipulate the supernatural for their needs, or they're good guys and they're trying to get around it, or trying to beat things off to get things back, or they're bounty hunters that deal in the supernatural, all these different things that happen. Mm-hmm. And what he's done, though, it's kind of neat, is he hired 25 different writers from all over the world.
Wow.
And he set up the basics of the family tree and said, these are all the characters. This is the tree. This is how long it is. Now write me 25 short stories, and then he's going to draw them all.
That's brilliant. That's a brilliant idea. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where you at on that process, Johnny?
So I've gotten back from the 25 writers. I've gotten back, I say 12 of the stories, the scripts completed.
Wow.
Right now I'm going through the process of reading all the scripts, making notes on them, kind of making any structural changes I need to make sure it fits in within the overall world. And then I've started doing some character sketches of the characters to make sure they match out with what was originally thought and with how the writers wrote them. And I've done some loose rough pages for some of the pages, and I've actually finished one of the stories through inks in the artwork side, but I took a step back and started doing more of the editing to make sure all the stories fit within the world before I jump all into the artwork on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting because all the writers, Richard, are from all over the world.
Cool.
So he's got people from, Latin America to England, Australia, from America and Canada. Just so the worldview that he's going to have throughout his storyline is going to be pretty interesting.
That's great.
I'm really excited to see how it turns out.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it was a huge setup because what I did is how I started is I started just making a family tree. So I started in like 1550 and made a family tree from there to 2113. Mm-hmm. So I made character names, birthdays, death dates, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, married dates, and kind of built this whole family tree. And then I worked with each writer within a section of that timeline to help develop those characters out, and then you write the story.
Great.
It's been a really fun process.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Where are you down? You're down in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco these days.
Yeah. How do you like it?
It's a nice town. When I came to California, I was in LA, and then I followed a girlfriend up here many years ago, many years ago. And we broke up, but I got work in San Francisco. So I just stayed. I had no work in LA at the time. So I just stayed up here, and which is kind of fun because I live in San Francisco, and it's an excuse to go back to LA a lot to do research, take photos, to talk to people. So yeah, I kind of get the best of both worlds.
I've gone through San Francisco. I have a lot of family in LA
Mm-hmm.
and Huntington Beach and San Diego and Laguna. But
that was our last month.
Yeah, and we were in San Diego for the Comic-Con in July, but I've never had a chance just to hang out in San Francisco. So I'm thinking about going there this summer. Do you have any areas that you should say, hey, you need to check this kind of stuff out? Well, besides the general, everybody says drive the trolley, go see Alcatraz. Yeah, that's fucking boring. I want to see
actually Alcatraz is pretty interesting. I mean, that's an interesting, gloomy place with a lot of weird history. So I'd actually recommend Alcatraz.
Cool.
you have to go to Borderlands Books, the big science fiction fantasy bookstore in town, and they have a great cafe next to it. Have some coffee there. Do you want to hit some bars or something while you're in town? I mean, I know.
Yeah, I've been known to throw some back a time or two.
There's the Royal Cuckoo. There's Zeitgeist, which is a biker bar, but very nice people. Just don't show up in a business suit. They don't like that. There's Knock Knock in the lower.
I don't own one of those, so I'm good.
There's Knock Knock in the Lower Haight. There's if you like, there's tons of great Mexican food. There's Los Panchos for pupusas, and North Beach for Italian food. North Beach is great because you have the Italian section for Italian food. You have Chinatown right there, and then you have you can walk all the way through Chinatown, end up in the Italian section, and right around the corner is City Lights Bookstore. So that's a nice place, which again has good bars. There's Vesuvio's down the street, and there's Specs across the street. It's a nice town for drinking and eating.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I got some business to do there in July, so I'm going to check out Zeitgeist in the North Beach, and then from there I'll just re-listen to this podcast to figure out the other places that you suggested, because that'll be good.
That would help when I was there. Yeah, I was there in the end of August. I stayed at the Hilton in Chinatown.
Oh yeah,
and so I ended up walking around Chinatown. I walked down through the Italian district, down to Fisherman's Wharf, and I basically just walked all around that area through. I was there for work, so I had a conference I was going to, but then I ended up going to the Comic-Con down there too, and just walked around that, and it was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful city. I had a lot of fun down there.
It's a nice town. It's a very pretty town. Yeah, it's if you're interested in a really good fantasy set in science fiction, you should read Christopher Moore. That he really owns the town in terms of knowing it and depicting it very well in fantasy novels.
Okay, so like Death Merchant and Chronicles of Serpent of Venice and all them.
Yeah, and A Dirty Job is a good place to start. Nice depiction of San Francisco. Plus, it's not giving too much away to say. I think I can say a man discovers that he is death, and has to sort of take over the job.
I like it already.
It doesn't work out well, and very funny books. Really good depictions.
I'll check it out. Yeah. Because you use L.A. as quite the backdrop in Sandman Slim.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So did you live there for a long time? Because, it feels like you just bring up the areas really well. And your description of them, from my memory of L.A., is pretty spot on.
I lived there for a few years before I came up here. So, I liked the place. I think I got a good feel for it. And it's a great town to write about. I think Killing Pretty was one of the ones, I think in terms of getting into the history of Los Angeles, I think Killing Pretty has the most, going into the crazy background of gangsters and white supremacists and old Hollywood. Yeah, that was a fun book to write.
Killing Pretty, is that the one, you remind me, is that the one where they go, oh my God, it's like they go into the woods and there's an area and there was a bunch of neo-Nazi stuff on the walls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's when
Murphy Ranch.
Death.
Murphy Ranch. That's what that was. That they built that to be Hitler's West Coast headquarters back in the day, back in the 30s. A crazy bunch of Hitler fans. They built that.
That's fucking crazy.
And it's still there. Most of it's fallen down, but a lot of the main building was poured concrete. So all the wood is gone. Everything perishable is gone, but the big concrete building that's the center of the place, that's still there, man. You can go there. And actually, my description of how to get there is real.
Wow, that's interesting. And they allow the public to go there? Or is it,
they keep trying to shut it down. They would really like to knock the building down, but they keep talking about getting rid of the place. But so far, it hasn't happened. So, yeah, if you want a nice little Nazi diversion for an afternoon, you can go find Murphy Ranch.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard anybody putting nice and Nazi in the same sentence.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that Dirty Job, and you said the man discovers he's death. Have you ever read Piers Anthony?
When I was
from back in the 80s,
when I was a kid,
70s. Yeah, and he did the Incarnations of Immortality.
No, I never
read that. And the first one on the series is called On a Pale Horse.
Mm-hmm. No, I never heard of that.
And it's a good one. You should check if you get a chance. You should check it out. It's a fun one because that's what it's about. It's about an ordinary guy, and magic and science are side by side in the story. And he wants to commit suicide, and he goes to shoot himself in the head, and he pulls the trigger. But as he pulls the trigger, death is beside him, and he's able to move his arm in time and shoot death in the head.
Mm.
And as death falls, a young woman walks through the mirror, and it's fate. And she goes, she takes off the robe, and the skull is a mask, and she takes everything off and hands them to the character named Zane and says, "Hey, put this on." And she puts everything on, and he looks in the mirror, and he's become the Grim Reaper. And she's like, "You've assumed the office of death," because that's how it happens. And the whole thing is that all this stuff, like time and God and Satan and fate and Gaia, the Green Mother, are all offices that are held by mortal beings. They're immortal while they're in office. And so, usually what happens is they're killed by whoever is taking over that office.
Right.
And it's interesting because now that makes me want to read that Christopher Moore, because it reminds, just from your description, it reminds me of that. So that's going to be a fun read. I'm actually going to order it tonight.
Cool.
I want to read Metrophage. Did I say that right?
Yes, Metrophage. Yes.
Yeah, phage. And because I'm 43.
Yeah.
So I built my first computer in 1990. It was right before the 486 chipset, maybe 89. I built a 386, and then I built the 486. And so that whole genre of books, when they started hitting the market, very much interested me. But for somehow I missed that book,
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to actually read it, but I'm curious.
It's been out of print for like 20 years, so that was a problem.
Has it really?
Yeah, it was out of print.
Is it available now?
Yes.
Harper, if I go on your website?
Harper, my publisher, bought it back about a year or two ago, so it's easy to find now. And there's a new introduction that explains the book, explains who I was at the time, because it's an old book, and I was a very different person.
Yeah.
The writing style is very different. It's it was my first book. I was really showing off in that book. There's like a million ideas and very, very fancy prose, which I've abandoned. So, like I said, it's a young man showing off to the world.
Yeah. So, but when you think back of what you wrote and what you're writing now, is there things you'd change today, or are you happy with what it's turned to be over 20?
You have to grow. And I think I've done that as a writer.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about your first novel is it's just, you're panicked the entire time. You're obsessively, that's why I threw so many ideas in there. You're desperately,
You feel like you're not doing enough.
Well, you're desperately afraid of losing the reader's interest. So you just throw in more crap. Everybody's first book is a bit panicked, and mine is very panicked. So
it's a good way of putting it.
So, I mean, there's some fun stuff in there. I actually think, I can't read my old stuff. It's just too weird.
Yeah.
But I took a peek at certain parts of the book, and yeah, there's some nice writing, and there's some okay stuff in there. So I mean, if you're interested in cyberpunk, if you're interested in my other books, it could be a fun read for you. And but if you're going to read the new edition, you really need to read the introduction too. It's a conversation between Cory Doctorow and me. And like I said, we get into why the book happened and who I was and how it developed and what happened after the book. And I talk a bit about.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I just really wanted to read it because I didn't even know of it until I Googled and went onto your website, and then I saw it, and I was like, and then I started reading a little bit of the synopsis, and I was like, oh, well, that's something I would have read in 1990, 91.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? I would have picked it up and said, oh my God, I'm reading this book, because I was very much into that whole scene. And like, I loved the movie Akira and all of those. Have you ever watched Akira?
Of course I've seen Akira. I love Akira.
Yeah. So that would have spoke to me. So I was kind of surprised that I had never actually read it because I've been a prolific reader my whole life. You know what I mean? I that's just, I prefer to read more than watch TV or movies when I can get away with it. But of course, I live with a girl, so I mean, it's always good. But I mean, she likes to watch movies and stuff, so I end up doing more of that nowadays than I was. So anytime I find something that interests me, then I want to go back and read it. And I just happen to have you on the show, so it was kind of nice to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, well, if you read it, I hope you enjoy it.
Oh, I will. I'm sure I will. I'd be surprised. I mean, I'd be shocked if I didn't enjoy it just because of what it's about.
Well, see, now if you don't enjoy it, it's going to be really awkward when you have to text about it or email about it. You're like, just kidding.
Huh.
Right. Yeah, I'll send you an email saying, oh my God, what'd you do to me? No. So when Sandman Slim comes out, that's not your first story that's been turned into a movie.
Oh God. Yeah, no, it's not the first thing of mine that's been turned into a movie. Oh God. Yeah. The first thing that was turned into a movie is beyond awful. It's just...
Was it bad?
It was
I never watched it.
You can find it pretty if you're really, really curious. You can find it. You can find cheap copies on Amazon. It's called No Ordinary Baby, which kind of tells you what it's going to be like. I mean, it's like this. It was based on a science fiction story I wrote, and the producers took this science fiction idea and turned it into this kind of gooey, maudlin Lifetime movie. And
oh no!
And
if you read your stuff, that doesn't fit you at all.
It was. It's just awful. I mean, they gave me money. I was happy about that. I really needed it at the time, so I'm grateful.
Money's good.
I'm grateful for that. But wow, I cannot recommend that movie to watch for pleasure. If you're one of those people that has friends over for a bad movie night or something. That might not be a bad one to put on.
That's because generally I actually really like B movies because I think of the process of what it took to get that thing even made. Yeah. Right. Especially if it's one where you read about the movie and you read that the guy that wrote it is also directing it and also executive produced it. Sure. Right. And hired everybody. And most likely they maxed out their credit card to get that thing made, Yeah. Or put themselves into dire debt. And even though we're sitting there laughing at it and saying, oh my God, can you believe how corny this is? That was made out of love.
Absolutely.
But when it's a made for TV movie, then all bets go out the window.
hey, according to Wikipedia, Bridget Fonda was nominated for a Golden Globe for that role.
Are you serious?
Something
really?
came out
Are
of
you
it.
serious? I had no idea.
That's what it says.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Fonda was nominated for Best Actress in Miniseries or TV Film Award at the 2002 Golden Globes for her role in the film.
Wow, I had absolutely no idea.
Wow. Oh, was that before or after she redid La Femme Nikita?
I have no idea.
Wow.
Point of No Return. Did you ever watch that? That was so bad.
Yeah, I have seen that. It was it was not a good adaptation.
Well, it's like you didn't even have Luc Besson direct it. Why would you not have? I mean, if you're going to redo his movie, at least have him do it. Especially at that time, the guy was like golden.
He's not doing bad now either. But I don't know. I mean, they would want to, if you're going to take a French movie and make it American, you'd want all Americans to do it because you wouldn't want the French influence anymore. I can see the logic of making it completely American. That makes sense to me.
Right.
But, and I could see the allure of taking that Nikita and making her, redoing her as an American character. But, you have a steep hill to climb, man, because that French movie is so great.
So good. Yeah, it's so good. Have you ever watched that, Johnny, La Femme Nikita?
Of course I have.
Okay. Well, you never know. I mean, sometimes you meet somebody and they haven't seen some of the best movies made out of the 90s. Like, one of my favorites was The Professional.
That's a great movie.
And, I saw that in the theater. I had watched La Femme Nikita, the couple years before, and I knew who Luc Besson was, but I didn't know that he had directed The Professional. I just went and watched it. It was just one of those days where I had nothing going on, and I just walked down to the theater, and I love doing that, just going in and saying, oh, that looks kind of interesting based off the name or the poster.
Right.
Not always doing all the research because you'll be shocked with what you'll see. Sometimes you won't go if you read the synopsis, you won't see it. and then you miss out on something that could be wonderful.
That's how I.
And sometimes you do that, and you see Birth of the Dragon, and it's terrible.
That's how I saw Terry Gilliam's Brazil. Was just wandering into a theater.
Whoa! What?
I was in Paris.
That is awesome.
I was in Paris by myself many years ago, and I had a day where I had nothing to do, and I was walking through. Oh man, I forget which what area it was. It was near Notre Dame. I forget the name of the area, but it was down a little side street, and there was a little local movie theater. And one of the movies, I just passed it and looked at the posters, and it said, "I knew, Terry Gilliam's Brazil," and I didn't know Terry Gilliam had a new movie, and so I just walked in, and I was just, it was a great way to see Brazil because I had no preparation, I knew nothing about it, and it's Brazil. It knocked me out.
Yeah, some movies are just like that. You know what I mean? If you read the synopsis and they're so strange, I guess is the best word I can come up with, that you read this synopsis like, I don't know if I'd really get into that or want to spend 2 hours watching that. And I think Brazil is a great example of that. If you read if you read about it, you might be like, oh, it's kind of weird. I don't know if I want to see that. Then you sit down and you watch it and it just blows your mind.
Yeah.
I love finding that because that's what The Professional did for me. I mean, it was just Jean Reno in that movie was amazing.
Yep.
And of course, they edited the crap out of it for American audiences because they didn't want to have that relationship with the 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even when you watch the French version, where it's all the director's cut, I guess, with and all of the innuendos are there.
Right.
It's still such a beautiful movie, and you're just like, well, they don't ever actually cross the line.
Right.
So when you're watching it, you're like, yeah. So I don't know. It blew my mind. 12 Monkeys for Terry Gilliam for me was like that too. I didn't see it in the theater like that, but I watched it when it came out on video. And I remember sitting at home alone. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I put that movie on, and Brad Pitt's too late, and he's freaking giving you the fingers as he's doing it. And I think I mimicked that for a good 5 years after seeing that movie. And I loved it. I'm actually wanting to watch the TV show that just came out not too long ago.
Yeah, I've never seen the show.
Either have I.
I've heard good stuff, but I don't know. I'm very skeptical of these things. So, but I'll have to give it a shot at some point. Right.
That's how I am. Right. It's skeptical because it's kind of, it might be good, it might be bad, but when it's good, man, it really gets you.
Yeah.
So
most shows based off of movies that come out later on usually aren't very good, but I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. I just know, historically speaking, you end up with stuff that tries too hard.
Or it goes in such a different direction that you can't see the connection to the original source material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Besides the name.
Hey, Rich, are you doing any more comic books, or
I have some stuff in development, but nothing I can talk about yet.
But is it all original stuff for you? Like
combination.
I'm excited because I really liked your work on Lucifer.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to see what you got on Constantine because to me when they announced that you were doing Constantine Hellblazer, I told Johnny right away. I said, "Oh my God, Kadrey's doing Constantine." I'm beyond excited because it just made sense.
Well, it was fun to write too because I'm kind of sick of San Francisco right now. It's a very expensive city full of techies and rich people and annoying people and cupcake stores. So I set the story in San Francisco, which was part of the reason I wanted to do it. So I get to mock the city pretty mercilessly.
I love it. Dude, do it in Seattle next time because we're in the same fucking boat, man. It's all people making too much fucking money, eating cupcakes, and just the political correctness is getting out of hand. And I don't have to
afford shit.
Yeah, I don't have to agree with everything you say politically or whatever. But dang, man, you don't have to be such a flower about everything that everybody else is saying either. And that's what it seems like it's going on.
Well, it was fun to write about San Francisco. I don't often write about San Francisco, so it was fun. I think I wrote about San Francisco in another fantasy novel called Butcher Bird, and then I did it one other time in a YA book I wrote called Dead Set. Those are my only two other San Francisco stories.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to take a look out for it. Are you going to try to use real valid locations throughout the whole thing? Because a lot of DC books don't take place in actual cities.
Oh, yeah. all the settings are real in my Constantine.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. Did they say anything to you about using an actual city?
Nope. They were perfectly fine with it.
No?
Nope. There were no problems at all.
That's cool.
The only problems were because now Constantine is no longer Vertigo; it's regular DC. So there were some problems with profanity and stuff like that. So we had to work around bits and pieces of that. But really, they gave me. I can't think of any real restrictions. They gave me.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's a lot of shooting in the book, so there was a certain amount of telling the artist don't get too gory here. You can't go as far in DC as you can in Vertigo. There was another story of mine that I pitched to them that I really wish I'd gotten to write. That was, but yeah, it was a lot crazier, and they just sort of said to me, "No, this is not a Vertigo. That's a Vertigo story. We cannot do that story."
Because see, I always wanted to see Sandman Slim like be a Vertigo line. Or even an Image line, because then it's creator owned and you could do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, the producers own that. So with any luck, there'll be some kind of Sandman Slim graphic novel or something when the film comes out.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be really a great book. It would be great graphic.
Because I'd love to see your descriptions in the novels are really great. You know what I mean? I have my own version in my head, or my own vision in my head of what all the characters look like and how they are. And for some reason, when I think of what is the name of the angel that was a doctor in the first book?
Oh, Kinski.
Ends up being Stark's dad.
Kinski.
Yeah, Kinski.
No, it's right? Just Kinski.
Oh, Kinski. Sorry. I was being all pretentious.
Yeah, stop it, dude.
Right? I always see James Spader. Every time in my head, I see James Spader. Every time I read that book.
That's okay. Sure. Make them whoever works for you, however it works for you. You know,
that's the beauty of books, right?
Exactly. It's why.
But I'm always curious what. Go ahead.
No. That's why I will never talk about what Stark looks like, because I will describe the other characters to a degree, but I've never said much about Stark other than he's pale and scarred. He's the character I want everyone to completely make up. And I'll never say who or what inspired the look of Stark in the books.
Well, when the movie finally comes out, we'll have to tweet at you and ask you what you think of the movie, or at least what you thought of the vision of Sandman that the director had. It should be really cool.
I trust the director.
I'll be shocked if it's not.
I trust the director a lot. He'll come up with some good casting, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it to have like actual events happening online where they're showing shoots, and I'll follow it like a dork that I am. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'll be following it too. So I'll be right there with you.
Any plans of coming up to Seattle again? Any more book signings?
Let's see. Well, I'll be at Emerald City Comic-Con next March.
Oh, we're going to be there.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Do you got a booth, or do you got...
No. I just come and do some panels and hang out with other writers and drink. That's Emerald City.
Oh,
Emerald
nice.
City is It's a great convention for... The convention's great. The big sales floor is great. And the socializing is great. It's one of my two favorite conventions at this point.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. That's really awesome.
I hear that a lot from my artist friends. They love Emerald City the most.
It's great.
It's one of the best ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they support local artists really well. The city of Seattle supports local artists really well.
That's nice to hear.
So it's really good. I like it a lot. And then we had a guy on named Stephen Frank. You ever heard of him?
No, I'm not sure. No.
So he does all the cons.
He's an artist. What has he done that I might have seen?
Okay, well, he's a really interesting cat, man. So he is a writer and an artist. He was the animation supervisor on The Iron Giant.
Oh, okay.
And, when he was 13 years old, he did his own short for Will Eisner's The Spirit.
Oh, that's
he did his
great.
own animation short. Yeah, and he's from France. He lives in LA now. He's been here for like 25 something years or whatever. He wrote these graphic novels called Silver, and it's the description is it's Ocean's 11 in Dracula's castle.
That's all right. I like that.
Yeah. I think you might actually enjoy these if you get a chance. Check out Silver. You know what? I'll send you a link. I'll email you a link.
Cool.
So you can check out the first one, because it's the guy was amazing. He came on our podcast. We talked for like an hour and a half, and the guy was just full of life, full of vinegar. You know, he talked about his character. Her name is Sledge. It's all takes place in Bram Stoker's universe, and she's a Van Helsing, and ends up being that he talks to us about his grandfather he escaped Auschwitz twice.
Wow.
And that's who he modeled. Yeah. Really badass, right? I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And that's who he modeled his character off of, this Sledge character off his grandfather.
Wow.
And I was like, are you serious? And, you know, you start reading it. After talking with him, you start reading and you start realizing all the vampires in his novel, or in his graphic novel, even though it's the 1930s, right before World War II, he's paralleling Nazis. And he's actually giving you an insight of how his family life, especially his grandfather's life, must have been like then. And so it was really cool. But he's going to be at Emerald. The reason I brought him up is because he's going to be at Emerald City, and I thought maybe if you had a chance, you should check it out. Cool. I always like to tell people to go and look at his stuff, because I just think he's in that genre. He's quite the revelation. It's really neat. It's really neat.
I'll look for his stuff.
If you get a and if you get a chance, you're in Emerald City and you reach out, I'd love to come by and buy you a beer or two, because that's my city.
Cool.
If we could take it to some spots, that'd be great. If you have the time, and if you're even interested, and if not, it's all good. Really appreciate you coming on. And we've been on for over an hour, and I'd hate to take up all your time tonight. So
yeah, I'm going to have to roll it pretty soon.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. It's very, very appreciated, man.
Oh, thank you. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just so you know, we talk about a lot of comic books, but really we talk about art and creation, right? That's what we like to do, is create content. We love doing this podcast. I have a full-time job, but if I could do this all day long, all year long, this is all I would do. I just have to pay my bills. So I have to have a stupid corporate job.
We're all that way.
Right. But we love this, and we love having writers on. We love having artists on. So anytime you have something you want to get out there, you want to tell people about, or if you just, for whatever reason, you're more than welcome to drop us a line. Come on anytime you want. Seriously, anytime you want to come on, you just let us know, and we'd love to have you on. Anytime you have a new book coming out, or if you just said, hey, I got a new book coming out, can you guys just mention it? Done.
Cool.
Done. Not even a second thought.
Thank you.
You know? And yeah. And seriously, when you're here for Emerald City, and if you have time, love to just at least meet up and say hi and bullshit a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll be on some panels, so maybe we can meet up at one of those.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. That'd be perfect. Cool. That'd be really a lot of fun. So, Richard Kadrey, thank you so much for coming on, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. You take care.
Okay. That was
that was fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. A lot of insight.
Yeah.
Very nice, man.
I'm sorry I talk so much, Kenric. I know you wanted to talk to him, but I'm sorry that I overdid the conversation there. I apologize.
I'm actually surprised that you didn't actually talk that much, honestly. Just because.
Well, there was a lot. You guys were talking. You guys had a really good cadence going. And I chimed in where it was appropriate, but the question I wanted to ask, I ended up we kind of talked around it anyway. It's like, oh well, I'll just let it go, let it go as it flows.
Yeah, yeah. What was the question?
Just about his process of how he created the characters and stuff, and he just talked about it, so it was no big deal.
Oh yeah. I think when we were talking about the screenplay that he's working on, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, man. I liked him a lot. I mean, it was a lot of fun to get an insight of how he does his stuff and what he's working on and what he's worked on. And to be honest, I was a little nervous because I've read his stuff for a while now, and I really, really like his writing. And so sometimes I got a little tongue-tied.
We know.
I get it, thanks. But I'm just saying, I got a little tongue-tied while I was talking to him.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, it was great. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I hope that when he does have a book coming out, or if he wants to come back on, we do get to have him back on sometime in the future.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if we reach out, he'll be amenable.
Yeah. It'd be great. It'd be great to have a follow-up episode, like next year sometime, to kind of, where are they now? Not really, but
Yeah. I get what you're saying. What are you up to nowadays? What are you up?
Right.
Where are they now? I like that. That's kind of funny. No, but it was interesting. That was good. It was cool to learn about Studio 8 taking over and creating a new movie, and that he's going down to meet the director.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool, man.
Yeah. And he's got some more comic books that he's working on. Some that are around other things. Some.
Not gonna lie, I'm more excited for the creator of his own and new things he's gonna be writing versus taking over a series.
I'll be
too.
Honest,
I'm more excited for that.
Yeah, I wish I could have pried some of that out of him. You know,
right. Before I said in the intro that I was gonna try and power read as much of Lucifer as I can.
Yeah.
I managed to read, because of kids and making dinner and stuff, I managed to read just one story, which was the Christmas story.
Oh,
that he wrote.
Yeah,
that Ben Templesmith drew.
That was the first one in the series.
Yeah. I started there. It was really good.
Yeah. He's really good. He's really good. He's really good. I mean, he's a very good writer in the comic book genre as well, right?
Yeah.
And he's done another comic book series, and I can't remember the name of it, a while ago. Not like what he has in Lucifer, and I'm really excited for Constantine to come out next month.
Yeah,
you know,
after reading Sandman Slim, I'm excited to read his take on Constantine.
Right. Well, because to me, I mean, I was saying that I feel like I wasn't meaning like Sandman Slim and Constantine would fight if they met with each other, right? I was just saying.
No, I know.
You know, it was just like they're just, you know, he just seems like a more powerful person, you know,
right,
in a comic book format. I mean, because, you know, it's all bullshit, right? I mean, it's all.
That'd be a cool cross. No, it's serious, damn it. Stop calling it bullshit. This is comic books are serious. Take them seriously.
What do you mean? I take them a little too seriously. We have a whole show about them.
With 40 episodes in 3 months.
No, but I really want to thank Richard for coming on. It was really cool of him. He's a very busy guy. He's working on a lot of stuff, and he took the time to come on our little show. That was really cool.
Yeah, thanks. If you listen, Richard, thanks you again for coming on. I really appreciate that, and good luck with the movie and the comics writing. I look forward to reading the comics you put out. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward for more Sandman Slim novels in the future. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to read Metrophage, because I'm actually really interested in that, because it's a cyberpunk novel, and which is funny the way he described it, and the fact that he was like, he wrote it all in a panic,
right,
and put too much into it, which is you know, which makes me just kind of want to read it more to see the difference between the dichotomy, I guess you could say, between his novel of 1988 compared to what he's doing now.
Yeah, I'm going to go find a copy of No Ordinary Baby and watch it and then write a review for it for the website, just for fun.
Oh, God, that's hilarious. The fact that she was up for a Golden Globe for that is so funny. He didn't even know it, I love it.
Yeah. You gotta realize, you gotta think, you know, when you start writing stories that get turned into movies or TV shows and stuff like that, there's a certain level of disconnection that you have, that because you wrote the original story, but you have nothing to do with the next piece of it, you know?
Yeah, and it was a short story.
Yeah, so it's a short story called Carbon Copy that got turned into a TV movie with Bridget Fonda, and you know, whatever.
Yeah, well, like you said, they paid him, and it was at a time that he really needed the money. So,
yeah,
you know, that's great.
Take that money and run. You know, give me the money. You do whatever you want with it. I don't care.
Yeah, and it sounds like he did some good negotiation with Sandman Slim. So,
yeah,
you know. I don't know.
I like his thought process that too. See, you got to accept them as different mediums too. Like the book stories are their stories. The movie is going to be their own thing. They're going to be based on the books, but obviously they're not going to be the same thing.
Yeah,
you know,
right? The book is, I think, to me, the book is an outline, because you can't put everything that's in unless you do every movie as a 3-parter,
right? Or you do like the Russian War and Peace, where it's 8.5 or 8 hours or something like that.
Yeah, you can't really do it. So, you know, I think some people need to calm down of what. You know, the difference between a movie and a book, but it's all good, man. He was such I don't know, man. I really liked him. He was such a cool guy. He was easy to talk to. He was really nice. And so I hope we can get together and at least see him and say hi and see what else is coming down the pike. I'm really interested in what comic books he's got coming down.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And he's in the DC universe, which I know you love.
I do love that. That's, see, DC has the good people.
It's like a coup for you. All right, I think that's our show.
That's the show, man. We're good to go.
We're good to go.
Out there, yeah, you can listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Play FM, anywhere else podcasts go on that RSS feed. Just look us up, Spoiler Country, you'll find us there. You can find us on our website, spoilercountrypod.com. If you want to contact us, you can email us, spoilercountry@gmail.com. If you want to talk to us outside of email, you can hit us up on Twitter. We're both active on Twitter, and we both manage that Twitter account. So if you add us or DM us, you might get me or you might get Kenric. You never know.
That's right. You never know. You'll probably get Johnny more often than not. You get Johnny because he seems to be a little bit more on the ball with that stuff. But it's all good.
We have an Instagram too. I do update the Instagram with our show with links and stuff there. So if you on Instagram and you want to get notified there, you can follow us on there. We do have movie reviews and comic book reviews and story reviews on our website as well. So check those out. If you want to support the show, support what we do here, you can go to that you can support us at patreon.com/spoilercountry and, just read the rewards. We have fun stuff there that you can kick in for. We also have an Amazon affiliate link in the description down below. You can just click on that and buy something on Amazon and we get some money for it.
That's right. And don't forget our survey.
Yep, that's in the description down below. And you can also go to there straight by just going to bit.ly/scpodfeedback and it'll take you right to it.
Yep. Or on our website, right before the podcast list actually starts, you'll see a link for the survey as well. All right. Well, thanks, Johnny.
Thank you, Kenric.
All right. And thank you, Richard. Peace.
Yeah, thank you, Richard.